Today on 7th Circle Gaming, we're talking about the game Uboat. And we start off here, as we always do, with the disclaimer. First off, the game is listed as early access. It was purchased some time ago, so consider it a sunk cost. The game was played on easy difficulty. As always, only single-player content will be covered in this analysis. The game was, however, played multiple times with multiple options. Now, on to the first part, Immersion. This game is fairly immersive, and it's a mishmash of how it does it. It does provide players with the opportunity to customize characters and to customize the vehicle. Although there are some hard limits on what characters and what players can customize their characters with, and these are limited to history, so there aren't going to be laser guns or something that's absolutely ahistorical. And audio in the game is very fitting for the genre, so yeah, it gets the bare minimum for that, a passing score. So graphically, the visuals are appropriate to the genre as well. They are not absolutely drop dead gorgeous or exceptional in any particular way, although it can be immersive for some players who are interested in sort of watching this game rather like a movie, because it can be looked at as that. And story, the game attempts to use this. The events in the story do largely track with real history, so that's a thing that happens. And challenge, there are some tactical puzzles and strategic puzzles in the game, largely related to what upgrade paths and what player characters are recruited, because obviously all of the player characters are not created equal. They do have different skill sets, and selecting one skill set over another as part of that statistics focus can really impact how the game works or how the gameplay is. So for all of that and all that it does earn a 13 out of 15. However, where the game does seem to let itself go is on the difficulty. The game has a tutorial. There are approximately 6 missions in the tutorial. It's very highly advised, and we found it particularly useful to go through those multiple times, because there is a lot to remember for players in this particular game. All of those player characters and their skill sets figure very importantly into success in the game. There are difficulty options. These are roughly 3 of them, and they are story focused, moderate, and difficult. And then there are additional options for crew management that can also impact the difficulty of the game. After that, then players must go through a third menu which has additional difficulty options. So there's a lot of them there, but they're not necessarily terribly well described in terms of how they will impact gameplay. And it can be overwhelming for some players to look at all of this stuff that they need to get into and understand before they've even started to play the game. And a lot of this does need to be recalled by players, and that's something that can be very difficult in the heat of the moment. That's going to bring us around to our nearly the final point here, and that is the lasting appeal of the game. And again, the game does very well here. It does have multiple options to engage with the software. Players can pick multiple submarines, they can start multiple places, multiple time periods. Fantastic that. The game can be played for short periods or long periods. It's pretty forgiving of that. However, there might be long periods of gameplay where nothing really happens, and there is mod support for the game. However, we didn't necessarily look into how many mods there are, but that is something that's going to extend the appeal of the game. Time compression is an absolute must for this game because it does try to mimic that real time and what it was like to actually be in a submarine. And well, on that point, I think we'll carry on right to our final point here, which is the summation, the lasting or final analysis. So, final analysis, we find that the game has earned a 10 out of 15. It is an absolutely fantastic game for players who are interested in naval history, Second World War, movies like Das Boot, submarine combat. And there are periods where nothing happens, and that can really be a negative point for some players. The game does seem to have a message to convey about the life of a Kriegsmarine, German naval submariner during the Second World War. So that can be really interesting for some players. However, what brings it down more than anything else is the amount of complexity, the amount that must be remembered. Maybe even play the game with a little notepad to remember who does what and what skills they're best at. And there are some significant periods where nothing happens. And really, that's all I've got for today. Just do the YouTube things if you feel like it, and goodbye.